Welcome back to the Rules of Engagement. We're about to jump into the question and answer portion of the show. But before we do that, let me encourage you guys, if you enjoy our content, go check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/official MLGSC2. You can see here, it's a great website. We got videos uploaded usually within 1 to 2 hours of when they're broadcasted. So within an hour, you'll see our fantasy versus party match, and then within an hour after that, this show, the Rules of Engagement, will be up tonight. So very, very fast turnaround on our YouTube uploads. You can make playlists of everything you want to see. In fact, the winter season showdowns are already they're already being uploaded, as we can see right now. So it'll be there momentarily. Very, very, very fast turnaround. If you like our content, if you miss anything, please go to our YouTube and subscribe to it, because right now we are getting crushed by Call of Duty with over 8,000 subscribers. We've got to try to catch up to them and show them that Starcraft fans are really just as adamant about supporting esports as those MLG Call of Duty fans. Now let's jump into some questions. So our first question is going to be from Chris Fetchy, who's actually awesome worker here at MLG, but he's asking, what race should I play in Harvest Swarm? I'm seriously undecided. And this is a great question, because there's a lot of you guys who either were playing Wings of Liberty, you're not, like, well, should I stick with the same race? Should I try a different one? You don't really know what's going to be the most fun. And whatever race you start out with, often you're going to kind of get stuck into playing, because you're going to know it very well. You're going to play at a certain level. And you don't have to start over from scratch playing a whole new race, like 1 year into the game. So I would recommend, because it's such an important decision, try to play random throughout the entire beta. At the very least, for the beta, go ahead and play random, or mess around a week on each race. And the reason to do that is because the beta is going to be patched around, change a lot, and what you want to do is just figure out what race is the most fun. You won't fall too far behind in strategic development during the beta, because the strategies will be changing so much. So it's okay to be not really sure of what you're doing, because it's the beta. So that's the best time to be playing random and trying out crazy things when everyone's trying out crazy things. It's much harder to go, later in a fully developed game when everyone else has their builds figured out and go play random, because the learning curve is so steep. But right now is the perfect time to go out there, play random, explore throughout the beta, and then at the end of the beta, you can either keep going random if you have fun doing it, or you can say, you know what? Terran games sometimes are fun. Zerg games are sometimes fun, but Protoss is clearly the most fun race, so let's switch to that. I mean, or whatever. I just picked Protoss because it's clearly the best race, in my opinion. But, whatever race you like, go with that one. So next question is going to be from Sweet Little Gnome. What unit composition do I need against Marauder Hellbat Medevac push as Protoss? So the Marauder Hellbat Medevac composition is it's like the old Marine Marauder Medevac, but about 10 times stronger. And it's for two reasons. One, Hellbats are much stronger than Marines. And two, it's kind of ironic. This is actually really easy production-wise for Terran to mix in some Hellbats into their army. It's because in a standard PvP, they build that factory, use it to build a reactor to move on to their starport, then they fly it around in circles around the map, doing nothing with it, right? So in Harvest Swarm, because Hellbats mix in so well with their bio army, you can use that factory to react around Hellbats. And even one factory reactor in Hellbats can make a ton of them if it's constantly being produced. So it's a really, really, really strong push. And to counter that push, you really, really need to have some either Colossi or really good Storms. Storms can actually work okay. And the secret with Storms is this. Storms and Archons are pretty decent against Hellbats. Not amazing, but they're pretty decent. I mean, they'll beat them, but the Marauders behind might kill you first. But the key here is you have a lot of extra minerals. If you go charge at Archon, you'll get destroyed by this composition, because your charged Arcs will all die instantly to the Hellbats. And then your Archons might kill the Hellbats and all die to the Marauders, because they have no meat left to tank for them, and Archons actually die quickly to most units if they don't have that tanking shield. Just because they only have 350 hit points, and for a unit that expensive, you really want more than that. So, charge at Archon is not that great, but the Archons are very good. The Storms are good. What do you spend your minerals on? Well, you can spend them on Photon Cannons to survive the push. Photon Cannons are a great way to spend minerals in Heart of the Swarm, because the Zealots lose a lot of value against Hellbats. So you can maybe do some Warp Prism Zealot Harass, get a bunch of Photon Cannons, and hold your choke points with Storm and Photon Cannons. Then as you develop your army add in Colossi with your Storm, all of a sudden that army of Hellbat, Marauder, Medevac will get destroyed by your combined AoE forces. So you really just got to survive that push. I would suggest using some Photon Cannons in your mix to help defend that. Get on to the next question from Tiago Carvalho. And it is, what do you think of Scarlet as a pro gamer? What are the strongest points, the strengths and weaknesses of her gameplay in your opinion? So, I think Scarlet is a very smart player. I mean, first of all, I think she's the best NA player by a decent margin. Players like Major and Hawk are very close, but I think, actually, no, I don't know how close they are, but she's extremely, extremely good. One of her key strengths is she understands unit compositions well. What I mean by that is she knows what unit compositions are the strongest against different ones for each race, and she understands why they're strong. So when she plays Broodlord and Fester, she knows exactly against what compositions, what she has to watch out for. If she knows that, let's say, the Void Rays are the biggest threat, the Templar are the biggest threat, the Siege Tanks are the biggest threat, whichever unit is the biggest threat to her particular mix of units, then she knows how to micro to avoid that threat. Should she focus on fungaling this unit? Should she focus on infested Terrans? And her unit utilization is so good, not necessarily from extremely fast hands and really like good Twitch micro, but from understanding what's dangerous about her opponent's composition and what she needs to watch out for. Against force fields, for example, she'll know, I've got to make sure that this thing on my army doesn't get force fielded off too much. So I'll make sure it is at a very open part of the map. Things like that are what she's extremely good at. Perhaps her weakness is the fact that her builds aren't quite as streamlined as some of those world-class, some of those Pro League Zergs, some of those GSL Zergs. If you notice, there's some minor inefficiencies in the first 10 minutes that don't quite put her at the same, just like a little bit less food than some of those top players, even though she has really great creep spread and really great injects. And also, sometimes she takes a little bit too much damage, things like Helling drops, Marine drops, different type of harass forces. The multitasking isn't quite as high as those world-class Korean players. Overall, though, an amazing, amazing player. So that wraps up this segment of the Rules of Engagement, or this episode of Rules of Engagement. Hope you guys tune in tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern for RoE versus Hero. It's going to be at 5 Eastern, and then right after that is going to be tomorrow's episode of Rules of Engagement, which will feature analysis of Partying versus Fantasy. It was a great series. Tune in tomorrow for RoE versus Hero. After that, Partying versus Fantasy analysis time. That's it for today. See you guys tomorrow.